and gentlemen, and welcome inside the gymnasium here at Milford High School, as Milford TV is once again happy to bring you coverage of Scarlet Hawks athletics. This is Tim Coet back on the call. A big thank you to Patrick Garapi for filling in my place earlier this week. Happy to be back here courtside for tonight's marquee matchup. In boys basketball, the Milford Scarlet Hawks continue this lengthy homestand to close out the regular season, finishing out their home schedule with 5 out of 6 at home, and tonight in this Friday night primetime game getting set to take on a team currently tied for first place in the Davenport division, and that is the Foxboro Warriors. So for the second straight game, Milford will face off against a team in first place within the Davenport standings. And how could we forget the events that took place here earlier this week? Milford taking on Canton High School here in the Milford gym, and what a game it was. It did not start off in very positive fashion for Milford, struggling offensively throughout the first quarter, netting just 3 free throws over that first 8 minutes. They carried a hefty deficit into halftime, but Milford able to start to put things together offensively in the second half, and really a fantastic defensive effort from start to finish to hold Canton in check, making that comeback a possibility. And after several lead changes over the final minutes and plenty of drama, the result, a buzzer-beating 3-point shot from Brendan White. Ended up getting fouled on the play, still made the basket, and was able to propel Milford to a 45-44 statement victory, an ultimate upset win over first place Canton. So now Canton forced to share the lead in the Davenport standings with this Foxboro team here tonight. But that was a sorely needed victory for Milford on Tuesday, as they came into action on Tuesday night on a losing streak. They had lost 4 consecutive games, all of them against Hockomock League opponents, losses to Oliver Ames, Attleboro, Mansfield, and Stoughton. Their last victory before Tuesday night had been all the way back on January 21st, so trending in the wrong direction at the worst possible time in the season, but they were able to pull themselves up with that victory on Tuesday night, but still plenty of work to do moving forward here. Just 5 games remain on their regular season schedule. As we mentioned, 4 of them will come here in Milford, including this game here tonight against Foxboro. And Milford must win 3 of these final 5 games if they hope to make their way into the MIAA playoff tournament for a 3rd consecutive season. Foxboro already knows that they are playoff bound, and this has been a team that has been very consistent, very strong all season long, particularly on the defensive side of the basketball, where they currently lead the Davenport division in opponent points per game at just 47.5 points allowed on average per night. Offensively, these two teams are very similar, with Foxboro coming in scoring an average of 54.9 points a night, Milford at 53.8 points per night. But it's on the defensive side of the floor. Really, both of these coaches having similar commentary about their teams going into the year. Both head coach John Gibbs for Foxboro and head coach Paul Seaver for Milford talking about their respective teams as if these were the best defensive teams that they've coached so far in their tenures at both of their locations. So 2 of the better defensive teams in the Hockomock League squaring off tonight. And of course, this is the second time that these 2 teams have faced each other so far on the season. The first time it started off strong for Milford, but it did not finish very well in a game that Milford ultimately gave away in the 4th quarter. They led throughout much of the night. They could not expand the lead much beyond a 2-possession game, and allowing Foxboro to hang around ended up being the difference, as Foxboro was really able to clamp down defensively over the 3rd and 4th quarters. And they were able to come away with some key points, particularly at the free throw line in the closing seconds of the 4th quarter, and that allowed Foxboro to hold serve on their home court, a 55-51 victory for Foxboro over Milford. That was back on January 12th. And that was a game that a lot of these Milford players, as I've talked to them over the course of the season, have pointed back to that game as a game that they felt that they should have won. They felt like they were the better team that night. And unfortunately, a lack of execution ended up costing Milford in the end. So Milford has named this game a revenge game. That was the words directly from senior captain Caden Kelly when I spoke to the team after the big win against Canton earlier this week. So there is revenge on the minds of these Scarlet Hawks players as they get set to take on Foxboro here tonight. And this Warriors team, a couple of the top scorers in the league are featured on this Warriors offensive attack, most notably Joe Morrison, who has been so steady with this varsity program for the last several seasons. He comes in, again, amongst the top scorers in the Hockomock League this season. Also Brandon Board, one of those top scorers. Morrison comes in at number 7 in the league, scoring an average of 16.6 points per game. Brandon Board in double figures on average. He is currently 18th in scoring, notching 11.8 points per game. So those will be 2 players to watch on the court for this Foxboro Warriors team tonight, number 31, Joe Morrison, and also Brandon Board as well, number 1 on the roster. Still a young player on this team, just a sophomore. He really burst on the scene last year and has continued his progress over the course of this season so far. So it should be a very competitive game here tonight. Milford continuing to look for that playoff push. They come in 4th place position in the Davenport Division standings, taking on another 1st place team. Will we see another upset in the Milford gym tonight? We will find out in just moments as Milford takes on Foxboro. We will have the starting 5s and the opening tip of this game when we come back next. So stay tuned to coverage of Milford High School athletics right here on Milford TV. Despite the cold temperatures outside, it's a beach theme here inside the Milford student section, and revved up as always to see their team here on the home floor on a Friday night. This is actually the final Friday night home game for Milford in the regular season, and it is a good one. The Scarlet Hawks taking on the Foxboro Warriors. The starting 5 for Foxboro is Brandon Board, Teddy Mayer, Matt Rongione, Bobby Harrison, and Joe Morrison. And for Milford, it is Brendan White, Andrew Frioli, Cam Falcon, Caden Kelly, and Zach Tamaro. And basketball now underway here in Milford. Foxboro controlling the opening tip. Tim Coet here on the call tonight for our boys basketball coverage on Milford TV. And immediately Foxboro passes it around the perimeter. Now quick entry in for Brandon Board, but the shot off the backboard and the quick rebound for Frioli. Milford looking for a better start offensively than what they saw here on Tuesday night. Again, just 3 points in that first quarter against the Bulldogs. It looked bleak early on, but they were able to pick it up in the second half. Here an early turnover for the Warriors. And now they swing it out into the corner, into the hands now of Joe Morrison, who starts and stops, guarded closely by Brendan White. Shot clock ticking down to 10 seconds to go, and now a clear lane to the basket as the defense breaks down in the end, and that allows Morrison to grab the bucket. A longtime starter on this varsity team, Joe Morrison, playing at the University of Vermont next year. Cam Falcon once again in the starting lineup, saw him in the starting 5 against Canton on Tuesday. Briefly touches the basketball, the hero from Tuesday night, Brendan White, also in there now. Quickly down to 5 seconds on the shot clock. Milford running out of time. It's Brendan White who will take it inside, and too strong off the back of the rim. And as we expected, the defense is looking strong early on. Morrison with the up fake, clears himself of the defender and drills the 3. And it's an early 5-0 run for the Warriors. Zach Tomorrow back in the starting lineup. He has really heated it up from the perimeter in the last few games, something Milford has been sorely lacking in their offense this year. There's Brandon Board, lightning quick acceleration to the basket, and right now it is the top two scorers on the Foxboro offense that are pacing this effort. A quick 7-0 lead, all Foxboro so far. Still early on in the first quarter, 5:40 to go. Falcon draped by a defender, that's Teddy Mayer. There's a lot of crossover between these two varsity basketball teams and the two varsity football teams, as Falcon can't connect on the fadeaway, tries to grab his own rebound but gets outworked by Bobby Harrison. And of course it goes without saying that the football teams for these two schools have had more than a heated rivalry over the last few seasons. These two teams playing a very closely contested basketball game earlier this season. Milford with the chance to inbound. Kelly gets it into Brendan Saylor, who checks into the game for the first time with just over 5 minutes to go in the first quarter. Milford once again struggling to find their offense early. Caden Kelly finally puts an end to the early Foxboro run. And now Milford pressing in the backcourt. Foxboro gets it ahead, and now Milford has to scramble up the floor in numbers. Saylor pestering Teddy Mayer. Now the pass down into the corner, briefly mishandled, but Board able to recover. Out to the top for Morrison, who swings it around to Rongione. Back in the hands of Morrison as the shot clock ticks down. Morrison trying to get clear for a shot, sends it up and over. Zach Tomorrow, good defense that time from Milford, forcing the highly contested shot. Morrison couldn't connect that time, still a 7-2 score. Bit of an uneasy feel in the crowd so far. Milford fans looking for a reason to get amped up, as Fraioli, they will wave off the basket and they'll call Andrew for the travel. Fraioli's been instrumental in a lot of these late season wins for Milford. We had a chance to talk to him earlier this week, feeling more and more comfortable the deeper into the season Milford has gotten. Morrison continuing to have his way in this first quarter, already now up to 7 points. Scoring 7 of the first 9 for the visitors. Two defenders commit to Saylor. That leaves Fraioli open, tries to hit a quick pass inside to Kelly, and now the foul is called. Looks like they did call the foul on Morrison. Not a lot of size on this Foxboro roster, but plenty of athleticism. A couple of players listed at 6'2", Rob Fay and JT Burke on the bench to start this one. Milford with the size advantage, but Foxboro doing a good job of, again, using their speed to their advantage, getting to the basket. Brendan White to the line, he notches his first point. Brendan White struggled through so much of the game on Tuesday, but all anyone will remember from that game is that final shot. It's a 5-point Foxboro lead now as Board cannot elevate over the interior defense of the Scarlet Hawks. Now here's Tomorrow. He releases his first 3 of the night, and it's perfect. Tomorrow has been a different looking player over the last week. You go back to last Friday night's game at Stoughton. A big reason why that game was close at the end was the outside shooting of Zach Tomorrow. Was well into double digits in the victory over Canton last week. He really started to get that comeback effort going in the second half, knocking down a couple of early threes, and now he's able to net one from outside here, forcing the timeout. It's all the way down now to a 2-point lead for Foxboro, so Milford was able to weather that early storm. Foxboro on an early 7-0 run, but now all of a sudden a 9-7 score. So the senior captain, Zach Tomorrow, back into the starting lineup and continuing to net some results. The starting 5 has really been in flux for Milford so far this season. We've seen a lot of different personnel used. At times we've seen Joey Everett in the starting lineup. At times We've also seen Brendan Saylor in and out of the lineup. Colby Pyers has started a few games as well. Today, that's starting 5, White, Fraioli, Kelly, Tomorrow, and Falcon. We're also seeing a lot of Brendan Saylor as the quarter goes on as well. Milford comes out of the timeout with the 2 big men, Kelly and Fraioli, along with Tomorrow, Saylor, and White. This is arguably the 5 most talented players on the roster. Trying to come up with a stop here with a chance to tie the game or take the lead. As Foxboro again shows a lot of good ball movement, as that one ultimately deflects out of play up and over the Milford bench. Clock stopped at 3:07 to play in the first quarter. A very entertaining JV game between these two schools earlier this evening. A game that Milford was able to eke out by 3 points. Shot clock down to 5. Foxboro looking to make a move. Down to 2 seconds. They float the pass to Morrison, who is somehow able to get a shot away in time. Not a good one. And it deflects off the rim and out of play. It will be Milford basketball, as yet again the Milford defense forces Foxboro to use the entire shot clock. The end result, an awkward looking shot from Morrison. So now Milford does have a chance to tie or take the lead. Saylor all the way to the basket, up and under, and counted for 2. What a move for Brendan Saylor. 9-all with 2.5 minutes to play in the first. Now it's Morrison trying to get around Brendan White. His shot off the side of the rim, rebound Fraioli. Now here's Kelly, gets it to Fraioli, count it, and a chance from the free throw line to tack on to the newly minted Milford lead, 11-9. There's Fraioli's first points of the game, a chance for a third. Scarlet shooting from the line, and the lead belongs to Milford at 12-9. Here's Morrison in transition all the way to the rack. An aggressive response from the captain. Under 2 minutes to play in the first quarter, as Saylor is guarded closely by Anthony Malika. Good pass into Brendan White, and he takes the contact as he goes up to the hoop. Milford now getting a little bit more aggressive, forcing the action inside, forcing Foxboro to react. Brendan White, after going 2 for 2 his first time to the line, misses his first here. Lead at 2, Milford pressures in the backcourt. Ward finds Morrison right up the middle. A nice pass to Board. Board immediately swarmed. Has to go back outside with it. Now Board trying to find his man inside. The ball deflects away. Foxboro another chance at it, but cannot convert at the rim. And right now Andrew Fraioli is just having his way inside off the glass. Ball loose on the floor, a major scrum for it, and somehow Foxboro able to tip it forward to Malika. And now back into the hands of Board. And Morrison from beyond the arc will send it across the length of the floor back to Malika. He's able to keep the play alive for the Warriors. Shot clock down to 10. The fans starting to get into it now here in Milford. Three-point shot is short, and the rebound goes to Brendan White. And Milford takes it up the floor with 47 seconds left in the first quarter. Kelly surveying his options, waiting for Fraioli. Tries to muscle up right up against the end line, sends it back out to Tomorrow, whose shot is offline this time. About a 5-second difference between shot clock and game clock as we come down to the end of the opening period of play. Foxboro once again methodical. Looked as if they wanted to take the long three. Instead, they try to get it down low. It deflects out, and now Milford will have the chance to inbound. 13.6 seconds left. Foxboro not going to make it easy. Saylor trying to get around his man. 7 seconds to go, plenty of time. Into the hands of Tomorrow. Saylor wants it back, gets it. Able to clear himself, but his shot just did not have enough on it. And that will bring a conclusion to a very exciting opening 8 minutes of play here in the Milford gym. A 13-11 lead for Milford after trailing 7-0 midway through. So Milford was able to make the adjustments on the fly. And it was virtually all Joe Morrison on the Foxboro side through those first 8 minutes. 9 of the 11 points Foxboro scored in that first quarter were courtesy of their senior captain, Joe Morrison. So just 1 quarter down, plenty of action left to go between these two Davenport Division rivals. We'll see the start of the second quarter when we come back next here on Milford TV. Back for the start of the second quarter. Milford with the basketball, up by 2. And a very quick whistle and a very quick turnover for the Scarlet Hawks to open up the period. Milford getting a lot of different scorers activated in that first quarter. Tomorrow, Kelly, Saylor, and Fraioli, along with Brendan White from the free throw line, all contributing points. But the defense has really been the story for Milford. Outside of Morrison, Milford's done a very good job of making Foxboro uncomfortable. Morrison will get a shot here from the corner and count it for 3. He got Joey Everett to leave his feet, and after that, no problem for Morrison. 12 points already in this game for Joe Morrison. Here's Joey Everett looking to respond. Knifing his way to the basket, but could not finish at the rim. Foxboro up the floor with the 1-point lead. Morrison covered well in the corner. Down to 10 seconds on the shot clock yet again. Board gets the ball in his hands now, drives baseline, kicks it back out. And Everett able to tip the ball loose. Board gets it back, 2 seconds, 1. And they wave off the shot. Morrison able to knock it down, but just a fraction of a second too late. Milford bailed out there, and Morrison, just an absolute sharpshooter so far here in this first half. He cannot miss. The only thing that stopped him that time was the shot clock. Milford fortunate it's still just a 1-point deficit as they send the ball back in play, but now turn it over. So all of a sudden the Scarlet Hawks getting a little bit sloppy through this early 90 seconds of the second quarter. Malika with a head of steam before dishing into the corner once again for Morrison. And right now there don't appear to be a whole lot of other offensive options for Foxboro, and then right on cue, Ryan Hughes enters into the fray and gets the layup to tack on 2 points to the Warriors' lead. It's been a lot of passing and ultimately looking for Morrison to take the shot here in the first half. Milford able to get it back outside to White. A little bit too quick of a release on the shot that time for White. And now bounce pass ends up finding its way to Milford as Foxboro turns it over, and now quickly passing it up the floor, and White contacted as he went up for the layup. Brendan White right now earning his money at the line. He has yet to make a basket from the floor, but does have 3 points from the free throw line. He's knocked down 3 out of 4 so far in the half. Zach tomorrow moves his way to the scorer's table, ready to check back in. He will do so here, giving Andrew Frioli a rest. Close back and forth action once again between these two schools. 5 out of 6 from the free throw line for Brendan White in this first half, back down to a 1-point game. Malika looking for options, sends it back to Devin Hassett, who was the starting quarterback for the Warriors football team this past fall. His speed gave Milford a lot of problems. Loops a pass back out to the man of the hour, Joe Morrison. Forces his way inside with 6 seconds left on the shot clock. Could not get over Joey Everett. And Milford settles down the basketball. And now Everett just able to receive that pass. White handcuffed him a bit right at center court, but Everett using those wide receiver skills to secure that ball to his chest. And now the looped pass inside to Caden Kelly. And Kelly, a little awkward on the jump that time. Looked like he momentarily reached down for the knee, but gets back defensively as Milford surrenders the outside shot. There is Hassett getting on the score sheet. That's up to a 19-15 Milford lead, and there's much better results for Caden Kelly. He's up to 4 points. Neither team able to fully seize momentum in this half. Very nice play that time, results in the easy bucket for Hughes. So Ryan Hughes all of a sudden with 4 points in the second quarter. So Foxboro is now starting to open up the offense a little bit more beyond just Morrison. Here's Everett able to bounce off of contact, leaves it for Kelly. And now it's the Milford senior captain starting to heat up. Keeping it a one-possession game more than halfway through this second quarter. Stop and start for Malika. They'll call the foul against Saylor. And meanwhile, wholesale changes for Foxboro as they send a trio of subs onto the floor. Keep the tandem of Morrison and Board out there. And now the release from 3 for Morrison. This has been some kind of first half performance for Joe Morrison. That's already his 3rd three-pointer knocked down in the half. Puts it up to a 24-19 Foxboro lead. Milford needing to respond. They look for it from Everett, who drains it from long range. Joey Everett onto the score sheet and back down to a 2-point Foxboro lead. 2:57 to play. It's up and under the basket. On the attempt goes Bobby Harrison, but the second chance points there. Now bounce pass ahead to White. White gets fouled. Again, struggling a bit from the floor, but a chance to continue to tack onto his point total from the free throw line. So 7 points now in the half from Brendan White. All of them coming from the free throw line. No need for seats for the student section as usual, standing all the way. Down to 2.5 minutes to play in the first half. The lead has very rarely been more than 2 points for either of these teams through the first half. The let it go from three-point range out of the hands of the captain, Matt Rongione. Shot no good. Here's Fraioli now. He briefly thought about three. Here's Kelly out on the perimeter, gets it back to Saylor. Saylor off back iron. Kelly in a dogfight with Morrison for the rebound, and Morrison, who has just shown a wide variety of skills on the floor, able to save that ball from going out of play, deflecting it cleanly to his teammate. And now a chance to release from three-point range. It's the favorite spot on the floor, it seems, for Morrison, although I doubt he'd have much different results anywhere else. He has been otherworldly shooting in this first half. And now receives the pass as Milford turns it over. He'll take it all the way to the basket. A 31-24 lead quickly. Foxboro starting to get some separation. It's brought a hush over the crowd with just over a minute to play. Here's Fraioli, he gets blocked off. So with a 7-point lead and the basketball, Morrison tries his luck from the far corner. And a rare miss. 4 3-pointers in the half so far for Morrison. And you can make it an even 20 points for Morrison with still 53.6 seconds to go in the second quarter. (20 of the 31 points Foxboro has scored so far in this half have come courtesy of number 31. Caden Kelly, meanwhile, shooting free throws, knocks down the first. That puts Caden up to 7 points. The biggest lead we've seen all night at 7 points. Milford trying to cut that back down. Down to 5 with 50 seconds left to go. Joey DeMarco with the task of guarding Morrison right now. That ball deflected. Fraioli, good hands, able to stay with it. Morrison back defensively. The pass dumped off to White, and Brendan White gets the bucket. There's the first shot from the floor tonight for the junior captain. Back down to a one-possession game. The shot clock turned off for Foxboro. Milford trying to get their hands on the basketball, perhaps for one more shot. Foxboro taking their time. Brendan Board now trying to go mano-a-mano with Kelly. Now down to 5 seconds. Inside move for Rongione, he gets it. And the final seconds will tick down. So the captain, Matt Rongione, gets his first points of the half, just sneaking one in before the buzzer. And that allows Foxboro to take a 33-28 lead into halftime. So again, back and forth action consistently throughout that first half. But the real question is, can Milford find a way to contain Joe Morrison, who notched 20 points in this first half? Just an absolute dominant performance. There'd be a very different complexion to this game if Morrison were not out there on the floor, but the Foxboro senior captain getting it done. And Milford trying to find a way, if possible, to contain the offensive output of number 31 when we return for the second half. We'll see what Coach Seaver has up his sleeve. We will pause for halftime, and we'll have the start of the third quarter for you when we come back next here on this coverage of Milford High School Athletics on Milford TV. Once again, we welcome you back inside the Milford Gymnasium. Second half action about to get underway between the Milford Scarlet Hawks and the Foxboro Warriors. And backed by an incredible first half performance by their senior captain, Joe Morrison, Foxboro able to hold on to a 33-28 lead. Joe Morrison by far and away is your points leader in this game with 20. Outside of that, the Foxboro attack has been 4 points from Brandon Board, 3 points from Devin Hassett, 2 points from Matt Rongione, and 4 from Ryan Hughes. On the Milford side, it is Brendan White who paces the offense with 9 points, 7 of which came from the free throw line. Caden Kelly has 8, 3 points apiece for Fraioli tomorrow and Joey Everett. It's Foxboro who controls as we now begin the third quarter. Tim Coed happy to be with you on this Friday night. Brandon Board. Good feet underneath the basket, and quick trip now to the free throw line. Just 9 seconds in. It's been a relatively tame Milford crowd here tonight, especially considering how lively the gym was at the end of that comeback on Tuesday. So a make and a miss for Brandon Board. And now here's Fraioli out on the perimeter. Dishes to Saylor. Caden Kelly nearly gets his pocket picked by Morrison. Instead, Milford sends it back out, and off the miss, the ball will go back to the Warriors. Milford immediately tries to trap in the backcourt, and they're able to force the turnover, so good defense that time for the Scarlet Hawks. Now Tomorrow gets it back into Saylor. Saylor in some trouble, able to get it back to Tomorrow. Now it's Fraioli. He's able to drop that one in. Good touch around the basket for Fraioli. A long bounce pass up the floor from Board finds its way to Rangione. What will Milford do to try and contain Morrison? Right now all alone on the near wing, as this bounce pass gets deflected and into the hands of number 5 for the Scarlet Hawks, Andrew Fraioli, and back up the floor now comes Milford, down by 4. And the whistle stops the clock at 6:39 to play in the third. And already a substitution from head coach John Gibbs for Foxboro, as Bobby Harrison goes to the bench. Saylor losing control of the basketball, sends it back out. And now collects once again Caden Kelly from beyond the arc. Can't get around Morrison. Still time for Milford as Saylor tries to toss it up. We've seen some wild shots fall for Saylor underneath the basket. That time glancing hard off the bottom of the backboard. Foxboro gets it to Morrison. He releases his first shot of the second half, and it's a miss, and these Milford fans hope that's a sign of things to come. Foxboro fans thinking differently. Morrison committing to Vermont for soccer, as he is quite a talented multi-sport athlete. Caden Kelly, meanwhile, now into double figures. Here's Morrison up the floor, just has Fraioli to beat. And just too much skill for Morrison. Floats it up and over. Brings that point total up to 22. 5.5 minutes to play in the third quarter. Revenge on the minds of these Scarlet Hawks players, as we talked about in the open. After that disappointing 55-51 loss just about a month ago, back on January the 12th. Joey Everett back out on the floor for Milford. Good rebound for Fraioli, and he puts it back. Standing his ground. It's been another solid rebounding effort for Andrew Fraioli, who now has 4 points in this third quarter. He's up to 7 in the game. Board has his pass knocked loose. White comes up with it. And Milford now a chance to tie. Saylor setting the offense. Everett getting it back to Saylor, and Brendan White all alone. The defense losing track of the Milford scoring leader. And White's layup able to tie this game at 36. And all of a sudden the jungle roaring once again. Foxboro trying to quiet them from the three-point arc, but no doing that time. 36-36, Milford with the ball in their hands. Here's Saylor from three, off the back of the rim, but Fraioli muscles his way to another offensive rebound, gets it back out to Tomorrow. He can't convert, and Everett, excellent effort trying to tip it in. Milford keeping that possession alive, had a couple of chances to take the lead, but just could not knock it home. And now another turnover as Rangione puts it right in the midsection of Brendan White, who now spills over towards his own bench. Brendan White about as emotional as we've seen a player here in the Milford gym after contributing to that comeback effort on Tuesday. Talked about it as being one of those moments in high school sports that you'll remember forever. As these two teams talk it over in the timeout. We will take the timeout as well. There are 3 minutes and 44 seconds to go in this third quarter. It is a 36-36 tie between Milford and Foxboro here on Milford TV. 3:44 to play in the third quarter. Matt Nickerson checking into the game. Ball handles against Teddy Mayer defensively.
It's a no-brainer.
Milford with plenty of size out there with Everett along with Fraioli and Kelly. Off the miss, Milford able to salvage the possession. A fresh shot clock now as they send it back out to White. White all the way to the basket. Count it, and the foul. That point total steadily rising now for White. Stands at 13 with a chance for one more here from the line as Milford takes a 38-36 lead. Cannot finish the three-point play, but Milford now with the two-point advantage. It's about as big a lead as Milford has had all night long, and it does not last for more than a few moments as Devin Hassett responds with his second three-pointer of the game, pushing the lead right back in Foxboro's favor.
Okay, well, let's get it done. There's no reason why we can't.
And that was a similar storyline that played out when these two teams played earlier this season. Milford in that one led most of the way, but Foxboro refused to ever let the Hawks expand that lead out. That's what we've seen again here tonight. The handful of opportunities that Milford has had to assume the lead, it hasn't been by more than 2 points. Here, Milford gets the steal. Kelly right off the inbounds pass, steals it. Gets denied the bucket, but will head to the free throw line. Milford trying to find a way to quiet down the Foxboro offense long enough to build themselves a bit of a cushion, but first things first, they have to get the lead back, trailing 39-38. Chance for Kelly to take care of business perhaps at the free throw line. Kelly now up to 11 points in the game. After making his first three free throws of the night, a miss there. Morrison a little give and go with board. Milford almost gets the steal. No look pass back out to Morrison. Can't find the room to take the shot. And now back outside for three. Off the back of the rim for Anthony Malika, and Andrew Fraioli again cleaning up the rebound. Outstanding play from the Milford big man, and now Milford trying to catch White on the run. The pass a little bit too far out in front, bodies flying as that ball deflects out of play. Matt Nickerson, a solid effort. And he will now head to the bench. That substitution will have to come at another time. Nickerson back out there on the floor, along with Kelly, Everett, Fraioli, and White. Everett and Kelly trying to trap Morrison in the backcourt, able to advance. And now a tipped pass by Nickerson right into the hands of Joey Everett with a 39-39 tie. Milford with the ball in their hands. Kelly waiting to receive the pass from Fraioli. Instead, Milford sends it to Brendan White. Six fouls now in the second half for Foxboro, 2 for Milford. Nickerson the lob all the way out to Joey Everett, who once again shows phenomenal elevation to be able to reel in that pass. Milford crowd has quieted just a bit. Here's Everett, high arcing three, no good. Caden Kelly there. So steady underneath the basket. Milford now with a 41-39 lead. Foxboro ahead in transition, losing the handle of the basketball. And right back now to Nickerson. Less than a minute to play in the third quarter. Milford trying to come out on top heading into the final 8. Slowing the pace here. They set up the shot for Nickerson. No good, but Brendan White with the rebound. And White gets fouled. The bench loves the effort. That's a little bit more of what we got used to seeing out of Brendan White last season, when he would come in as more of that energy presence off the bench, doing a lot of the dirty work underneath the basket. He's added so much more to his game, but still has that grit that really endeared him to the fan base here last season. It's Brendan White's 8th point from the free throw line so far in this game. Foxboro's been giving him the easy looks, and he's been taking them. The biggest Milford lead so far tonight now stands at 4 points. No lead safe with the way that Foxboro's been shooting the basketball, especially from three-point range. But White able to deflect the pass. Milford generates another turnover, and now the shot clock turned off. Milford still pushing the tempo, though. Swinging out of the corner and back into the hands of Nickerson. He will reset now with 15 seconds to go in the quarter. Nickerson finding Everett. Now here's Fraioli. Fraioli gets blocked off. Back to Nickerson. Outside to Kelly. Now Everett will have to put up the shot at the buzzer. And White trying to find a way to tip it in or draw contact. He does neither. And time expires in the third quarter, but Milford will indeed carry a lead into the fourth, 43-39. And a much different story for Foxboro in that third quarter, as Milford was able to make the adjustments against Morrison. Just 2 points in that third quarter for Morrison, in a quarter where Foxboro was only able to score 5 points in total. So after a 22-point second quarter, Foxboro limited to just 5, and that allows Milford to climb back in it and take a 43-39 lead. Still a long way to go. The fourth quarter begins when we come back next here on Milford TV. Earlier this week, the Scarlet Hawks were able to upset the first place Canton Bulldogs 45-44 tonight. Taking on another first place team is Foxboro, able to climb into a tie for first place with Canton with a victory earlier this week. So another first place team here in the Milford gym, and the Scarlet Hawks hoping for a similar result. They carry a 43-39 lead into the fourth quarter, as that tipped pass ends up in the hands of Fraioli. And Fraioli gets fouled as he goes to the basket. The fouls starting to mount here for Foxboro now, already up to 8. So Milford in the bonus. They've done a lot of damage from the free throw line tonight, and it continues. Two for two for Andrew Fraioli. 15 points from the free throw line and all for Milford tonight. They lead at 45-39. Board gets double teamed. Right now Foxboro needing to prove they can find some other threats besides Morrison. They opt for the deep three, no good, and Milford once again excellent on the defensive glass. Trying to add to a 6-point lead. White in some trouble. The pass deflects its way to Nickerson. And now another tipped pass. White will dive for it. The ball's still loose on the floor. White has it. Is Milford able to get the timeout called? So it looks like they do get the timeout just in time. So White able to smother the basketball, and Coach Seaver calls the timeout, stopping the clock with exactly 7 minutes to play in the fourth quarter. Milford up 45-39. Milford coming into action here tonight, technically with an overall record of 7-8. We've been making that point throughout the year. Technically a 7-9 record for Milford, but that exclusion game in the mix does not count towards Milford's ability to make it into the postseason. So for all intents and purposes, it's a 7-8 record. 5-8 within league play. Hoping to find a way to grab 3 more victories here in the closing days of the season to earn a playoff spot. Foxboro has already clinched their ticket to the postseason with a 14-3 overall record, 10-3 within league play. And Canton and Foxboro already playoff bound. Canton with a 13-3 overall record. A couple of teams from the Kelly Rec side have already made it. As a matter of fact, 4 out of the 6 teams have already clinched a playoff spot. Franklin, Mansfield, Attleboro, and Taunton already know they're heading to the second season. King Philip and Oliver Ames eliminated from playoff contention. But meanwhile, back to the task at hand here. Still just under 7 minutes to go as Brendan White tosses up a 3. It was short. And Foxboro immediately called for the travel, and the Milford fans love it. And you can see the argument being put up by Rangione, but to no avail. And another question I asked these Milford players earlier this week is what exactly the advantage is playing here at home. They said that it is tremendous, that they feel they have the best home court advantage in the Hockomock League thanks to the fan support they have here. The volume and intensity that's always felt in this gym. They have an opportunity to play here for all but one of their remaining games this season. As Milford now gets called for the turnover. The Jungle has more than held up their end of the bargain here, trying to will Milford back into things in the second half of the season. Milford doing a lot of work on the road earlier this year, and now a chance to see this team quite a bit over the final weeks of the regular season, seeing a good one here tonight. Still a 45-39 score with 6:26 to play in this game. Outside now, Foxboro passes up the shot. Bounce pass into Morrison. Could not quite corral the ball, so has to send it back out. Down to 6 seconds on the shot clock. Into the hands now of Board. He goes up and over for a jump shot, no good. Caden Kelly with the rebound. This Milford defense has been outstanding in the second half. They have frustrated Foxboro. We have seen very little good looks. We will see one here on the break as Brendan White commits the foul with Anthony Malika ahead of the defense. The other interesting subplot going into this game was how these two teams were going to operate in the second half as Malika misses his first free throw attempt. The third quarter admittedly has been a struggle for Milford, the players saying so themselves, as Malika misses both shots. Critical misses on the Foxboro side. We'll get back to that third quarter conversation a little bit later if time permits. Scoreboard frozen in place, just 2 points so far in this fourth quarter on the Milford side. So Foxboro still sitting on just 6 points so far in the second half. High feed into Fraioli, pulls it down and puts it in for two. Up to an 8-point Scarlet Hawks lead as now Morrison, able to clear himself of tomorrow, does not take the shot. Clock stopped with 5 minutes and 9 seconds to go. Milford trying to channel the energy, stay disciplined. They've done an excellent job of that so far here in the second half. Morrison tries to get inside, gets the ball knocked loose. A clean block for Milford. Here's the shot clock buzzer, and they wave off the shot again. So Milford stands strong on the defensive side. Foxboro cannot get a shot away, and the Milford student section erupting again. Milford an opportunity to make it a double-digit lead. Tomorrow pinned down. Just over 4.5 minutes to play. Here's Fraioli, lightning quick, receiving the pass, gets the shot and the foul. The fans are pumped, the players are pumped as Milford takes a 10-point lead. And timeout is called on the floor as Fraioli gets congratulations from the teammates. Another solid effort, and you can certainly make the case that Andrew Fraioli has been the MVP on this team in the second half. Brendan White shouldering so much of the offensive load in the first half, but as this team has really started to get their feet underneath them with this new group, we've seen a lot of different players step up, and none more so than the senior Andrew Fraioli. Happy to be back in Milford for his senior season, playing with the teammates that he grew up with after a brief stint in Dedham last year that did not go the way Fraioli had hoped. But he has made a tremendous impact on this team, particularly in the second half of the season. He has 13 points now in this game, allowing Milford to take a 49-39 lead with 4 minutes and 33 seconds to go. But the toughest minutes of this game still to come. Milford knows it takes a lot to close out a victory against these top Davenport teams. They experienced it here on Tuesday. They experienced it against this very Foxboro team last month. So as well as things have gone, they cannot afford any lapses. Fraioli short on the free throw. So it stays a 10-point margin with Foxboro now headed the other way. Milford traps under the basket. And they call the foul against the Scarlet Hawks. They call it against White. Milford's fourth foul. Pass just barely gets in to Bobby Harrison, but did not have the height to put in that layup, and now Milford back with the basketball. White guarded closely by Rongioni. Under 4 minutes to play in the game. Into the corner now for Saylor. He works his way towards the basket again, trying for that up and under move. Does not land it this time. Foxboro gets the defensive rebound. Here's Brandon Board, who's had a quiet night. Outside to Morrison, who has two defenders quickly close in, and Tomorrow trying to swat that ball free, ends up getting called for the foul. Frustrated with himself. And he will now head to the bench. Joey Everett back out onto the floor. All the way outside for Rongione. Now Brandon Board trying to battle against Fraioli, and Fraioli has the advantage. And Foxboro continues to be held scoreless in this fourth quarter. Timeout called on the floor. Just 6 points in the third quarter for Foxboro, nothing so far here over the first 4+ minutes of the fourth quarter. We simply cannot say enough about the defensive effort of these Milford Scarlet Hawks. They continue to talk it over with their head coach in the timeout. We will take the timeout as well. 3:20 to play. Milford up by 10 on Foxboro here on Milford TV. Starting to come down to the final stretch in this Davenport Division Showdown. Milford with the 49-39 lead, trying to add to it. Saylor finds Everett. 10 seconds left on the shot clock. Fraioli finds Kelly. Kelly turns around and puts it in for two. That duo really feeding off of each other well tonight. Milford over 50 points. Foxboro just once again looking confused on the offensive side. Brendan White takes advantage, getting the steal as the ball pops loose. Brendan White right back to the free throw line. Brendan White, 9 of 11 from the free throw line tonight. Now 16 points overall in the game. And you can make it 17. A lot of downturned faces amongst the visiting fans here. Surprised at the way this game has changed complexion here in the second half. Milford with by far the biggest lead of the game at 14 points. And Joe Morrison finally breaking through in this fourth quarter. The first points since the late stages of the third quarter for the Warriors. Still 2 minutes to go as Milford starts to use the clock now to their advantage. And eventually the foul is called for. Nothing but trips to the free throw line from here on out for the Scarlet Hawks. And if you're Foxboro, no real benefit to fouling as Milford has shot so well from the line. This is Saylor's first free throws of the night. He's been quiet offensively. This is his first points since the first quarter. A make and a miss. He has 3 points overall in the game. The lead at 12 as Brendan Board is able to go coast to coast. So Some signs of life here in the closing minutes for Foxboro. The Milford fans hoping it's too little too late. But this is a team that can generate points in a hurry. They've seen their two best players collect buckets, the 3 from Morrison, the 2 from Board, and now the turnover. So again, Milford tries to stay focused. The ball pops loose, but right back to the Warriors. Morrison with no space to operate, gets the pass away to Board. His 3-point attempt rims out. Looked like they called the foul on Caden Kelly. Just the 6th foul for Milford. Bounce pass into Board, has a shot blocked by Fraioli, gets it back, and now eventually White emerges from a pile of bodies with the basketball. Milford lead down to 10, the clock down to 1:13. And Fraioli that time called for the travel. Ticking down to the final minute of play as Fraioli gets another block. The ball ends up out of play, last touched by Milford. And we talked about it early on, the size advantage that Milford clearly had between these two teams, and they have really used that size to their advantage well here in the second half. Morrison, the quick 3, and then the timeout. Still making things interesting, so Morrison has been held much more in check here in the second half after a 20-point performance in the first half. Now with those 2 threes here in the fourth quarter, he's up to a total of 8 points in the second half. So he's able to cut the deficit down to 7 points. That lead was as high as 14. Foxboro's been able to cut it in half as they call the quick timeout, stopping the clock with 56.2 seconds to go. So Milford does have to be careful here. Want to let this clock tick down, but they also do not want to let this game get even to a 2-possession game with the way in particular Joe Morrison has shot from outside. With those 2 3-pointers over the last few minutes, Morrison now up to 6 3-pointers in the game. See what head coach John Gibbs has in store for Milford coming out of the timeout. Foxboro putting the pressure on. Saylor able to advance, now pulls up, loses control of the basketball. Morrison gets his hands on it. And so Milford starting to get a little antsy here. Still 49.3 seconds left. As Foxboro generates the turnover, and now we'll head to the free throw line for a 1-and-1 situation. Milford now calling for their fans to give them a late push. Morrison at the line for the first time, knocks down the first shot. And does successfully cut this game down to a 2-possession lead for Milford. It's 2 for 2. So from 14 points up, Milford now leads it by just 5. And Saylor in trouble again, gets locked up. And that forces Milford to call another timeout. It's taken with 40.6 seconds left. So from a game that looked like it was on the verge of cruising to the finish line in Milford's favor, it has changed in a hurry, 54-49. A basketball game down the backstretch, 40.6 seconds left. We'll see the conclusion when we return next here on Milford TV. 40.6 seconds left. Milford hoping to not see a repeat of the finish between these two sides from earlier this season. This time Milford was able to build up a sizable lead. Again, that lead was at 14. Just about 2 minutes ago, Foxboro, after being held scoreless through more than half of this fourth quarter, has all of a sudden poured in 10 points to make this game very interesting. Milford back to the free throw line, and that is where their comfort zone has been all night long. Saylor gets the first shot and able to go 2 for 2. With the lead back up to 7. With 33 seconds left, Board gets his shot blocked by Kelly. He comes down with the rebound. Saylor now with it, and Saylor gets fouled. He was just waiting for it. And all of a sudden now, a feeling of confidence starting to surge back into the student section after some tense moments, but Saylor wanting to come through here at the line. Short rims the first one. And an 8-point lead now for the Scarlet Hawks with the final 25 seconds about to tick down. Board to the corner. The release by Rangioni, no good. Here comes Saylor up the floor. Gets away from the defense to the basket, gets the shot, and that should just about do it. Reestablishing a 10-point lead now with the closing 5 seconds about to tick down. A late basket for Malika, but that is that 59-51. The Scarlet Hawks prevail against another first-place team. And what a week it has turned out to be for the Milford Scarlet Hawks, toppling first place Canton on Tuesday. They take down first place Foxboro here on Friday. And in so doing, Milford is able to climb their way back to the 500 mark. They are now 8-8 overall on the season, 6-8 against league competition. And Foxboro suffers just their 4th loss in league play this year. And overall, they will now fall to 14-4 on the season. So Milford with an impressive effort over these last 2 days. Still more work to do. They still have 2 more Hockomock League opponents on their schedule. They'll be back at home on Tuesday taking on North Attleboro before traveling out on the road for their final road game of the season next Friday in Sharon against the Eagles. We will be back with you with coverage for that Tuesday night game against the Rocketeers. So we look forward to bringing you more Scarlet Hawks action at that time. Until then, a big thank you to our Milford TV crew on hand for tonight's game. Our director, Rob O'Keefe, and our camera operators, Mike Sperling, Jerry Maglita, and Patrick Garapi. And I am Tim Coet. That final score, one final time, 59-51. The Scarlet Hawks come out on top over the Foxboro Warriors. This has been a presentation of Milford High School Athletics here on Milford TV. So long, everybody.